the lost tribes of Israel. Are they just a myth, or do they really exist? If they are real, who are they? Where are they? And how did they get there? In fact, they are real, and they're directly connected to Bible prophecy being fulfilled in our day. My co-host Ezra Benjamin and I will answer these questions, and then later in the program, we'll be visiting our Lost Tribes Discovery Center, where we're actually identifying and establishing contact with isolated communities all around the world who claim to be descendants of the children of Israel. Ezra, this is one of my favorite topics.
Yeah, Jonathan, it's really a passion area for our ministry. We can say we're called to this as a ministry, interfacing with these communities wherever they are around the world. But first things first, how do we know this isn't just some anthropological anomaly, some invention of man and people deciding they want to be Jewish, so they are Jewish? What are the scriptural underpinnings for this idea that there might actually be scattered remnants of the Jewish people still alive today?
Well, first of all, we have it very clearly laid out in Scripture, and I want to look at it just a couple. This is a really important starting point. In Deuteronomy chapter 28, and Ezra, there's lots of scriptures that say the same thing over and over again. I'm just picking one of the clearest.
Okay.
In Deuteronomy 28, the whole chapter is listing blessings for obedience and curses for disobedience.
Right.
So the Lord is saying to the children of Israel that if you follow my commandments, if you follow after me, and you obey my laws and rules, if you seek after me, these blessings will come upon you. And they're all listed specifically in Deuteronomy chapter 28, beginning in verse 1. So if you'll listen to my voice, if you will be careful to obey my mitzvot or my commandments, here's how you'll be blessed. In verse 3, you'll be blessed in the city, blessed in the field, the fruit of your womb, the produce of your soil, the offspring of your livestock, the increase of your herds, on and on. And all of this is related to life in the land that today is Israel.
And Moses is telling the children of Israel before they ever get into the promised land, you'll be blessed in the land.
That's right. This is the land that you're going to, the land that's promised to you through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The land today is known as Israel.
But he's also saying, I mean, it seems like ahead of time, he's saying, but I know you're not going to, and the Lord knows you're not going to, and here's what's going to happen in the land when you don't.
Well, I think that in his foreknowledge, of course, he knew, but he's laying out all of these blessings and say, this is your choice. This is free will. So all of the blessings, and then beginning in verse 15, he says, if you don't listen, however, to Adonai your God, and you don't do his mitzvot, his commandments and his statutes, then these curses will come upon you. And it actually repeats the same things. Instead of being blessed in the city, you'll be cursed in the city. Instead of being blessed in the field, you'll be cursed in the field. And then very, very specifically, it says that you will be scattered from the land.
So your enemies will have victory over you.
They're not even in the promised land yet, but in verse 64, after declaring that they will be blessed in the land of their forefathers, if they disobey, verse 64, Adonai, the Lord, will scatter you among all peoples from the one end of the earth to the other, and there you will serve other gods, wood and stone, and with you and your that you and your fathers have not known. Among these nations you will find no rest.
Right.
Okay.
Serious.
All right. So here's the declaration that you will be scattered. 2 chapters later, Ezra, and this is what I love so much. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 1 says, "Now when these things come upon you," in other words, in his foreknowledge, he knew that they would be scattered because of disobedience. "When these things come upon you, the blessings and the curse I have set before you, and you take them to heart in all the nations where Adonai your God has banished you, and you return to the Lord your God and listen to his voice, you and your children, with all your heart and with all your soul, then the Lord your God will bring you back from captivity and have compassion on you, and he will return and gather you from all the peoples where Adonai your God has scattered
before they ever set foot in the promised land." This is Moses before he dies on Mount Nebo, looking into the promised land. You're going to mess up, because I know your heart. You're going to be scattered from the land, not just next door, but to the ends of the earth. But I will regather you because I've made promises to you.
And then other promises that say, as long as the sun shines by day, or that the earth can't be searched out, I will preserve you as a nation, as a people before me.
So there's this hope of return,
so
from the beginning.
So you have a promise declared that I will bring you back, but while you're scattered, I will preserve you. So we know God has declared that he will preserve the people of Israel in the remotest parts of the world. So it's not a myth. This is a reality that God would scatter the children of Israel, and he would preserve them as a people, and then ultimately bring them back to himself and back to his God. That's why this is prophetic. This is a prophetic thing that's happening.
Jonathan, we're using the term lost tribes, but anybody watching at home is going to know there's millions of known Jews living in Israel, living in the U.S., Europe. They're not lost. So who are we talking about here?
Well, what's so unique about this, Ezra, is we're talking about isolated communities that have not connected, in many cases, with the mainstream or known Jewish community or Israel, so they're not recognized. They're known, but they're not recognized by the state of Israel. They're not recognized by the mainstream Jewish community. And they don't have a bias against the gospel. They're open to the gospel. Because they've been isolated, but they've preserved their identity in some way, shape, form. They have preserved their identity. They know they're the people of Israel. And we have this incredible opportunity now to bring them the gospel, to disciple them, to start congregations.
That's right.
We've already started over 100 congregations in Zimbabwe, dozens in Ethiopia, and they're being discipled. Jewish people that are coming to know the Lord and are going to be sent out to bring the gospel to the nations of the world.
You can be part of the fulfillment of prophecies thousands of years old.
Ezra, talk about this map, because we want to get this map into your hands. We've put together, this is exclusively done by Jewish Voice, a map that actually locates some of these lost tribes.
That's right. And Jonathan, interestingly, they follow what you may know at home as the Silk Road, this historic trading route that went from the Middle East into Central and Far East Asia. And throughout history, groups have been identified as Jewish along the historic Silk Road. We want to get this map into your hands. I've had one up in my office here at Jewish Voice for years. Super helpful in just one kind of document summarizing all these lost tribes of Israel wherever they are around the world. Jonathan, we also have, for those who like physical reminders, I know I do, this bracelet, and it has 12 colored beads here, and then what we call a Magen David. David or a Star of David in the center.
Beautiful.
It's to remember and, more importantly, to pray and intercede for the regathering and the salvation of all 12 tribes of Israel. God promises He's going to bring us all back.
It's a great reminder. We have two specific needs I want to make you aware of. I want to challenge you. The first one is become a monthly partner. We're asking you to commit to $30 a month to help us plant these Messianic Jewish congregations in places like Zimbabwe, Ethiopia. We're going to talk in future shows about other places we're going. It's absolutely amazing. They're in India. And we have a Lost Tribes of Israel. This is the 3rd edition, actually. It's a gorgeous coffee table book with some of the different tribes we've been working with, and it tells their story in pictures and with little summaries. It's really great. You will love this. But this is a thank you for becoming a monthly partner and helping sustain these congregations each month. It's a sacrifice, I know, for some of you, but these people are living with nothing, and you're giving them everything by committing to $30 a month in partnership with us. Now, you can also help us to plant a new congregation.
That's right.
$600 will go further than you can possibly imagine. I'm talking about a sound system. I'm talking about the basic materials that are needed, Bibles, other literature. There's a whole list of things, supplies so they can actually celebrate Passover and learn how Jesus, Yeshua, is the Passover lamb. So I really encourage you to get involved with us. Again, $600 if you can stretch. Maybe you can only give $300. That's fine. But a $600 gift will help us establish a new congregation, or monthly support. $30 a month will sustain a congregation, and we'll get these gifts out to you right. She's here getting help because we're providing it for free. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to see a doctor. She has no other means of getting medical care and medicines. And in just a few minutes, the doctors will see her. She'll get the medicines. We're going to help her every way and any way that we can. And so she'll get her help, and then she'll go into the prayer room, and I believe that she'll pray and receive Yeshua, Jesus, as her Messiah. This is a wonderful day for her. She's going to receive the care that she needs, and you can help us to help them. Welcome to our Lost Tribes Discovery Center. I'm really excited. This is pretty new.
It is, Jonathan.
And tell us what we're seeing back here.
Yeah, it's actually one of my favorite spaces here at Jewish Voice in Phoenix. What we have here is a team of people who are identifying, and in some cases these communities are contacting us, where there are Jewish communities, even Lost Tribes communities with a historically Jewish identity, all around the world, and we're establishing contact with them, trying to understand their oral history, understand their traditions, understand where they are on the faith spectrum, and in at least several cases a year, Jonathan, actually traveling around the world to what feels like the ends of the earth to meet these community elders.
It feels that way because I've been on planes, as you have, for 50 hours, almost 2 full days, to get to some of these places. Now, let me just recap, because I want everybody to understand what we're talking about here. There are many, many Jews, millions of Jewish people. When I say Jewish people, I'm talking about physical descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that are living outside of Israel. Israel is the homeland for the Jewish people, but there's just as many Jewish people living here in America. There's millions living in Europe, in South America, right? In Asia, there's major world Jewish population centers. We're talking about a different group beyond that. So you have Jews living in Israel, about 6 million of them.
That's right.
You have Jews living in the Western world, America, Europe, South America, Australia, about 15 to 17 million.
That's right.
It's only an estimate because we don't know how many exactly that are part of the known Jewish world. Inside of Israel, outside of Israel, and then there are scattered tribes.
That's right.
We call them lost and scattered tribes of Israel, living in places like Africa, living in remote parts of Asia. We'll talk about that specifically in a little bit, that are not recognized by the state of Israel or the mainstream Jewish community that are now coming to light.
That's right.
Isaiah chapter 11 refers to these people as the scattered remnant of Israel, or the outcasts of Israel.
That's right.
And those are the people that we are discovering, that are coming to us. And so some of these maps actually show key areas. So talk about this.
Right, not just the nation as a whole, but the specific communities, in some cases small, remote villages at the end of dirt roads where hundreds, if not thousands of people live in a closed community in many cases, which identifies as historically Jewish. It's really incredible, Jonathan.
It is incredible. And why I want you to understand this is because many of these Jewish people, these historic scattered tribes of Israel, are coming to faith in Jesus.
That's right.
We're making disciples in the remotest parts of the world. Remember the command of Jesus: Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the uttermost parts of the earth. Jewish people in Israel, in Jerusalem, are coming to know Jesus as Messiah. In Judea, in Samaria, but also in the uttermost parts of the earth.
That's right. And you know, Jonathan, earlier in the show, you read from the end of Deuteronomy where God says, I'm going to scatter you from one end of the earth to the other. And we see that, as you said, Latin America to Far East Asia. There's a community in Kaifeng, China, called the Kaifeng Jewish community, who identifies as Jewish. And then there's people at the very tip of Chile and Argentina, from the Morano, the historically Sephardic Jewish community, from Spain, from Portugal, and also from the Ashkenazi or the European Jewish community, who say, we're here too, we're Jewish. Literally one end of the earth to the other.
To the uttermost parts of the earth. Ezra, interesting thought. I went to Kaifeng, China, a number of years ago with my friend Sid Roth and Paul Wilbur, some other friends you may know or be aware of. We met Jews in Kaifeng, and it's now just reported in the news,
right,
that they're bringing Jews from Kaifeng. There's 1,000 they have identified, and they're beginning to bring them to Israel now.
That's right.
Bible prophecy is being fulfilled.
It's incredible. You know, Jonathan, it's so interesting that the communities we're talking to and the communities that are establishing contact with us are, in many cases, unrecognized as part of the world Jewish community. And God's opening a door for us as a ministry to go and begin to interact, to share the gospel with these communities, and we see tremendous response. Years, or in some cases a decade later, the government of Israel starts speaking with these communities, and they're brought back to the land of Israel.
Yeah,
but they're also being brought back to the Lord first.
Ezra, all of this was seen by the prophets.
Yeah.
They're seen by the prophets in the books of Isaiah and Jeremiah and Zechariah. They're written about in the Psalms by King David. And then it's also declared in the New Testament.
That's right.
That this blindness will come off of their eyes before Jesus returns. He's returning to Jerusalem, but two things happen that are directly related to end-time prophecy. One is they're gathered back to the land. Jerusalem is restored. Jesus said that Jerusalem would be restored and no longer trodden down by the Gentiles before he returns. And then second, they will be restored back to their God. And that's
right.
what we're seeing. We're seeing these communities in remote villages in the bush of Zimbabwe coming to faith in Jesus.
That's right. You know, Jesus said to his disciples, Jonathan, the prophets longed to see the things that you see. He longed to see what we're seeing through Jewish Voice, what we're seeing the Lord do around the world among Jewish communities today.
So be thrilled, because this is Bible prophecy being fulfilled before our very eyes, and it signals the near return of Jesus, Yeshua, to the earth.
Jonathan, I love in the scriptures, when God says all, he means all. And prophecy after prophecy says that he's regathering, or that he will regather all the lost tribes of Israel, all the tribes from wherever he's scattered us.
Remember, they're not lost to him. They may be lost to us or to the biblical record, but they're not lost to him. He knows where they are, and he has promised to restore them. It's interesting to note, Ezra, that the only two tribes that are spoken about today is Judah, because Judah is connected with Jew and the Messiah. He's from the tribe of Judah, and the Levites and the Aaronic priesthood. So Cohens, Levites are known today, and Judah, but the other tribes aren't really mentioned, except when we meet representatives of these lost tribes, the B'nai Manasseh, the children of Manasseh, the tribe of Dan. Many Ethiopians know from their oral history, we're part of the tribe of Dan.
That's right.
We actually have a map, Ezra. We've put together a map. It's a Jewish Voice exclusive. Talk about the map.
Yeah, Jonathan,
we want to get it to you.
One of my favorite resources that we offer you at home. I have this in my office. I've had it for years. One of my favorite resources. We actually update this every couple of years as our information becomes more current and as the locations of these lost tribes are more specifically known. It's a great resource to see just in one spot. Have it on your prayer room wall. Put it in your house. Put it in your office. One shot, every place in the world where a Jewish group is located.
There's nothing like this anywhere. And also, these are some gifts we want to get to you this week. And I'm going to ask you to do two things in just a moment. Another is this bracelet, 12 tribes of Israel, each represented here, right?
That's right, 12 colored beads, Jonathan. It helps us remember. We hope you at home are remembering in prayer and intercession the salvation of Israel, not just Israel as an idea, but specifically the regathering
and the Jewish people, the Star of David in the middle. So that's a reminder. It's a keepsake for you, for your children or grandchildren. And then this beautiful coffee table book, The Lost Tribes of Israel. The pictures in here are stunning. And it actually identifies different groups that we've been ministering to that have come to us and identified themselves. Here's the two things I want to ask you to do. One, I want to ask you to become a monthly partner with this ministry. $30 a month. And this month we're focusing on planting congregations. Go and make disciples on planting congregations of Jewish people, of lost tribes, that have been recovered and brought into salvation through faith in Messiah. And they're growing, they're being nurtured, trained for leadership. $30 a month will help us to sustain one of those congregations. Or if you can give a $600 gift today, you'll help to plant a new congregation. They need a sound system, they need materials, they need Bibles. $600 will help to plant a new congregation that will disciple Jewish people in Jesus, lost tribes that are now believers in Jesus. It's absolutely amazing. It's the greatest blessing that you can give a Jewish person, the gospel and discipleship.
That's right.
Growth in their faith.
Jonathan, $600 in one of our larger churches in the States maybe runs the coffee shop in the lobby for a week. $600 in this case helps to plant a congregation in places that most of the world knows nothing about.
It's such a great investment. I know that may be a lot. Maybe you can only do $300. That will go a long way. Two people give $300. The congregation is off and running. If it's monthly partnership, that'll mean so much as well. Get involved. We want to get these gifts out to you. Now, if you'd like more information about our ministry, we'd love to hear from you. And it's so easy. You can log on to our website. It's jewishvoice.tv. There's lots of resources on the site. You'll be able to see the impact of your support and how it's affecting people around the world. In addition, you can also send us your prayer requests. We love hearing from you. And I want you to know that we care about you and we do pray for your needs. I also want to thank you in advance for your support of Jewish Voice. We have to close the program. We're out of time, but I want to remind you as we go to pray for the peace of Jerusalem.